100 different phones, but we can afford to launch 8 new phones this year. That's a stretch. So which 92 do I decide not to launch? And that's what's putting companies out of business. Ethnography doesn't bring this whole curve of user understanding up to there, but it takes it in special areas, like the use of kitchen appliances, or the use of cars, or the use of cell phones. And for a moment, a brief moment, for a year or two, you can bring user knowledge in a category or in a product line up to the technology and business model knowledge, and you can win what they want. 2 is understand the value web of the user value and the corporate value. So for example, Starbucks in this country looked at the coffee industry and they saw that the average price of coffee was 25 cents. They wanted to be in the coffee business. And how did they create value around that? Well, they made the coffee better, but it's not the best coffee. What they really did is notice that there was another way of giving value to people, which was a third place to be with friends or a third place to work. Fast food franchises, which Starbucks is one, until Starbucks were designed to get you in and out of the store as fast as possible. Starbucks is designed to keep you in the store for as long as possible. Even if you're not buying much. Even if I was in a Starbucks yesterday in Washington and I sat there for 3 hours working between meetings with 1 bottle of water, and they were perfectly happy to be there. Why? Because everyone who was working and creating a hubbub in the place were creating a place with conviviality. And people were coming in and streaming in and buying not 50-cent cups of coffee, but $5 cups of coffee. So that's an example of linking user value to business value that's important. There are 3 ingredients that are needed before a company can change to make big innovations. One is managers who realize users are not being served. Every company has this. The managers know that they don't know what to do about it, but they know that they're not serving the customers well. The second thing is a company needs fear or pain to change. If everything is working well, there is no reason to change. It's harder to find a company now that isn't feeling fear or pain. Even 5 years ago at Procter & Gamble, the brilliant CEO, A.G. Lafley, started to take P&G down this path, and I asked them, why are you doing this? You're at the top of the game, you're winning. And the answer was, we're worried about store brands 5 years from now, which is today. So managers who know that the company isn't being served, fear or pain, and it's better to act in the fear phase rather than wait until the pain phase. And the last one, and the rarest thing, is a senior exec who is willing to go down a path where they're not positive what the exact outcome will be. That's the rare thing. An exec who says, we're going that way, and I don't know exactly what it's going to be like, but staying where we are, the risk model, isn't working. And being in that area is going to be better, and we'll find out exactly what it's going to be like when we get there. So those are the 3 characteristics of a company that, along with the methods of ethnography and value webs, need to be present. If you don't have all 3, don't bother starting. The way it works with companies is the executives that know they need to do this new thing go into an area of uncertainty where they've been, all their training and all their value system has been about reducing risk. Now they're going into this area of uncertainty. What we give them is methods that help them be approximately right instead of precisely wrong. They can keep doing the things that lead to certain answers, but they're going to be missing things that are important. I think it was Albert Einstein who said something like, just because you can't count it doesn't mean it doesn't count. And they need to have the belief that going in that direction is the right thing to do. And what we give them is a set of methods that keeps it from being based purely on luck and randomness and creative individuals. We give them a set of methods that allow it to be repeated.
I'll just leave it open as an open question.
My thoughts are based on the work of people like C.K. Prahalad, Stu Hart, Ed London, Al Hammond. It's the belief that there isn't enough charity in the world and there aren't enough government programs in the world to bring people out of poverty. People in the world of innovation, in the world of design, at a stretch, designed for the people in the top billion of the population of the world. There are 5.5 billion other people that are out there. So from a humanitarian point of view, you can imagine engaging them with commerce in a responsible way is a good thing to do. But let's not look at it from a humanitarian point of view. Let's look at it from the corporate exec point of view and the issue of growth. There are 3 ways you can grow in general. One is you can invent new technology. If you don't like risk, you don't want to do that, right? Or you can do mergers and acquisitions. If you want to be sure to have a 50% failure rate, you can do that. Or you can grow organically into new areas. And that's what emerging markets are about. It's growing organically into new areas. Organic growth is much safer and healthier than mergers and acquisitions, and it's less risky than always trying to invent new technology. So from a corporate, selfish point of view, they should be thinking of emerging markets as a way to grow organically what they're doing now into new areas. The good news is that the increased variety in the way people are living here, because of the technology and business models they've done, have taught the advanced companies that they should use ethnography and user observation in their home markets to compete in their home markets. Those same methods can be used in emerging markets. Those same methods can be used in bottom of the pyramid markets, base of the pyramid markets. And if they're not doing them in their home market, doing them in emerging markets will teach them how to do it in their home market. I'll give you an example. We were doing a project in India where we didn't have the budget to do the regular ethnography of sending a team over for 2 or 3 weeks and gathering the data and interviewing the users and coming back and analyzing it. So what we did is we unbundled the parts of the method and we sent over a very strict protocol to India, and we hired school teachers who had never heard of ethnography but were good at talking to people. And they followed the protocol in India and gave people the cameras and interviewed them about the pictures they took. And the interview methods are very simple. It's 2 statements. Why'd you take that picture? And tell me more. So it doesn't take long to train people to do that. And then they stopped their work after that interview, and they sent the data back here to where we used our Indian graduate students to analyze the data. It cost 20% of what a normal ethnography study would cost, but it gave us 80% of the value. And it works so well that we do that here now with ethnography projects that have tight budgets. Would it be better to send an ethnography team over there? Yes, but we wouldn't have done it. We didn't have, so it was do nothing or do this. And it forced us, working in the bottom of the pyramid, forced us to be innovative in a way that we wouldn't have done here. But we brought that innovation back to here. Let's talk about how human-centered design can relate to the corporation and to total user experience and to products. There's something I call a strategy pyramid, where every company is concerned with strategy, they're becoming concerned with total user experience and user-friendliness. There's 3 levels. So user-centered innovation can help you make these things more friendly. That's the traditional human factors, usability work. It makes the iPod and the iPhone nicer to use than their competitors. Starbucks doesn't play that game. Their coffee cups are not, they're good enough, but they're not better. In other places, their coffee is good enough, but it's not the best. They create a total user experience. So they decide that they're going to play in the total user experience. And the details can't be bad, but the details don't have to be great. Right? And here the strategy is, where do you want to play? And this is the question of what business does the company want to be in. And the way I think of this is there are user terrains. So a terrain might be having a happy and healthy home. A terrain might be socializing with friends. A terrain might be helping my kids learn. These are things that users care about. What companies do is they look down at this and they pick a territory. So Starbucks picks, they look at the terrain of work and socialization and friendship, and they decide to play in the territory of a social coffee shop. Honda decides to play in the terrain of mobility and moving around, but they deal with personal transportation vehicles that have interesting engines. That's how they differentiate themselves. The company owns this, the user owns this, and we didn't used to think of things that way. In the 20th century, we thought of things as being market segments. And it was one thing, right? We'd look at the market, and we would segment it. But people aren't markets. People are people. Family members and workers and soccer players and things like that. And now that they have choice, they're in control. So the company has to decide what terrain to be in, what territory to be in, inside which terrain. So that's what this is about. Should Starbucks go into the music business? Seems strange. Should Apple Computer go into the music business? Seems strange. How does one company decide to do it, and another company decides not to do it? There aren't right or wrong answers here. Now, at each stage, you can win at products here, but lose because your total user experience is bad. So this has to be good enough, and that can be great, and that has to be good enough. If this is right, and that doesn't work, and that doesn't work, that fails too. So you have to be good enough in at least two of them, and outstanding at the third one. So that's how user-centeredness can play here, creating things that are more friendly, creating total user experiences, or helping you know what territory to be in and what terrain to play in. So executives understand this. Now, this is the what are you going to do model. Now, the other question is, how are you going to do it? And that's where you have to have alignment with HR and legal and product supply. And they don't all have to be great, but they all have to be aligned with innovation. So product, with my client now, I'm working for the president of a multi-billion-dollar company. In the innovation planning meetings is the head of product supply, is the legal people from the patent office. The lawyer walked out of the room the other day saying, the year is only half over and you've used up my whole IP budget, because so many ideas are coming out of the process. So you can create innovative ideas, but they get killed in development if you don't have these things lined up as well. So you can't do it as that. When design was incremental, because everything was the same, it didn't have to be connected to all parts of the company. But if you start operating at the strategy level, you've got to have all those people. Japan has perhaps the most difficult challenges and the greatest opportunity. And the difficult challenge comes from being a monoculture in a multicultural world. Even a bigger challenge is they won the game by being the best manufacturers. And design was about